The wind cuts across the open field, rustling the dry grass. Two men stand facing one another. The distance between them is not merely physical, it is a chasm of intent. One man is restless, his breathing is shallow and audible. He shifts his weight. He shouts a challenge, his voice cracking with a mixture of adrenaline and hidden fear. He details his lineage, his school of swordsmanship, and the inevitability of his victory. He is leaking energy. He is projecting his mind outward, scattering his spirit like dust in the wind. Opposite him stands the second man. He is entirely still. His hands hang loosely by his sides, near but not touching his blade. His jaw is set, his eyes are half-lidded, focused on a distant point that encompasses everything and nothing. He says nothing. He does not justify his presence. He does not announce his technique. He offers no threats. He simply exists, a heavy, dense point of reality in a chaotic world. In this silence, he becomes a mirror. The first man, the noisy man, looks into that silence and sees only his own impending death. When the strike comes, it is over in a single breath. The man who spoke is on the ground. The man who remains silent cleans his blade and sheathes it with a sharp click. The silence returns to the field, heavier than before. This is the lethal strength of silence. This is the discipline of Chimmoku. In the modern world, we have forgotten the power of the closed mouth. We live in an era of constant broadcasting. Men feel a compulsion to narrate their lives, to announce their plans, to voice every fleeting thought and emotion. We mistake volume for strength and chatter for connection. We believe that if we are not heard, we do not exist. But the ancient samurai and the Zen masters who guided them understood a fundamental truth that we have lost. They knew that words are merely ripples on the surface of the water, but silence is the depth of the ocean. To the samurai, silence was not merely the absence of noise, it was a positive, tangible force. It was a perimeter of defense and a weapon of offense. They called this Chimmoku, the active practice of silence. It is derived from the understanding that speech is an expenditure of ki, or vital energy. Every word you speak requires breath. In the Eastern traditions, breath is the vehicle of the spirit. Therefore, to speak without purpose is to bleed your spirit into the void. Consider the physiology of the chatterer. When a man talks excessively, his breathing becomes irregular. His center of gravity rises from his belly, the hara, up into his chest and throat. He becomes top-heavy, easily unbalanced. His mind races to keep up with his tongue. He reveals his intentions, his insecurities, and his limitations. He gives away the tactical advantage of the unknown. By constantly explaining himself, he seeks validation from the outside world, effectively handing his authority over to whoever is listening. Now visualize the master of Chimmoku. He breathes deep into the lower abdomen. His center of gravity remains low and rooted. Because he is not searching for words, his mind remains in the state of mushin, or no mind. He is purely observant. He sees the twitch of an eye, the shift of a foot, the hesitation in a breath. He gathers information while giving none away. This accumulation of potential energy creates a pressure in the room. It is the pressure of the storm that has not yet broken. There is a concept in Japanese aesthetics and strategy known as ma. It translates roughly to negative space, or the pause between notes. In music, it is the silence that gives the melody its rhythm. Without the pause, music is just noise. In conversation, ma is the gap where understanding happens. In combat, ma is the distance and timing between opponents. The amateur rushes to fill the ma. He is uncomfortable with the empty space. If there is a pause in conversation, he babbles to fill it. If there is a gap in combat, he strikes prematurely out of anxiety. The master controls the ma. He lengthens the silence. He expands the void. He forces his opponent to exist in that uncomfortable space of nothingness. When you remain silent while another man speaks, you force him to confront the echo of his own words. Often, he will begin to doubt himself. He will over-explain. He will negotiate against himself. He will reveal truths he intended to keep hidden, simply to break the tension of your silence. By doing nothing, you control everything. Miyamoto Musashi, the greatest duelist in Japanese history, was a master of this psychological warfare. While he wrote extensively on strategy, his life was a testament to the power of withholding. He was known to arrive late to duels, not offering excuses, not apologizing. He would stand perfectly still, often looking bored or distracted. This silence was a calculated insult to his opponent's ego. It enraged them. It made them sloppy. They wanted a reaction, an acknowledgement of their skill. Musashi gave them nothing but the void, and in their frustration, they threw themselves onto his blade. The philosophy of Bushido teaches that the tongue is the gate of misfortune. A samurai's word, his Bushi no Ichigon, was absolute. Because his promise was binding, he was incredibly careful about what he promised. He did not speak of what he was going to do, he simply did it. To speak of a plan before it is executed is to dissipate the energy required to complete it. It satisfies the ego's need for recognition before the work is actually done. The wise man speaks only to act. If the speech does not lead to an action, it is noise, it is waste. This discipline extends far beyond combat. It is the foundation of dignity in daily life. Think of the men who command the most respect in any room. Are they the ones speaking the fastest, the loudest, the most frequently? Rarely. The man who commands respect is often the one who listens with an intensity that is almost unnerving. When he finally speaks, the room goes quiet because his words have been weighed. They have value because of their scarcity. This is the principle of accumulation. If you imagine your internal energy, your ki, as a reservoir of water, then speech is a sluice gate. If the gate is always open, the water level remains low. You have no hydraulic pressure. You have no force to drive the wheel of action. But if you keep the gate closed, the water rises, the pressure builds. You become a reservoir of immense potential power. When you finally decide to open the gate, the force is overwhelming. This is why the words of a quiet man can change the course of history, while the words of a fool are forgotten before the echo dies. There is a distinct metaphysical cost to the lack of silence. In the Zen tradition, it is understood that the mind cannot settle if the mouth is moving. The noise we produce externally is a reflection of the chaos we feel internally, but the reverse is also true. By controlling the external noise, we can begin to quiet the internal chaos. We cannot always control the thoughts that arise in our minds, but we can absolutely control whether we give them voice. By refusing to speak every thought, we deny them power. We let them wither and die within the confines of our own skulls, leaving only the thoughts that are worthy of action. This practice requires a hardening of the will. It is painful to remain silent when your ego wants to defend itself. When you are accused, the instinct is to argue. When you are misunderstood, the instinct is to explain. When you have a clever thought, the instinct is to share it. To resist these instincts is a form of asceticism. It is a training of the spirit. You are teaching your ego that it is not the master. You are reinforcing the perimeter of your own soul. Let us explore the concept of the silent perimeter. Imagine that around your physical body there is a sphere of influence. When you are loud, reactive, and unrestrained, that sphere is porous. The emotions and influences of the world rush in, and your energy rushes out. You are easily swayed, easily angered, easily led. You are a leaf in the wind. When you practice Chimmoku, you seal that sphere. You create a boundary. Inside that boundary, you are the sovereign. The insults of others hit that barrier and slide off. The panic of the crowd does not penetrate. You observe the panic, but you do not become it.
This is what it means to possess an unshaken mind. It is not that you feel nothing, it is that you contain everything. The modern world despises this containment. It demands transparency. It demands that you share your trauma, your fears, your breakfast, and your outrage. It views silence as suspicious. Why is he not participating? What is he hiding? Why is he not signaling his virtue like the rest of us? The silent man is dangerous to the modern order because he is self-sufficient. He does not need the constant feedback loop of likes and comments to know who he is. He knows who he is in the dark. He knows who he is in the silence. There is a story of a young samurai who went to a Zen master seeking the secret of invincibility. The master was sweeping the courtyard. The young man asked, "How do I defeat any enemy?"
The master continued sweeping. The young man asked again, louder, "How do I become the greatest swordsman?" The master stopped, looked at the young man, and placed a finger to his lips. He then pointed to the tea house. They sat in the tea house for an hour. The master poured tea but said nothing. The young man grew agitated. He fidgeted. He wanted answers. Finally, the young man burst out, "Why will you not teach me?" The master poured the tea until the cup overflowed, spilling hot liquid onto the tatami mats. The young man jumped back. The master spoke for the first time. He said, "Your mind is like this cup. It is so full of your own noise, your own questions, your own desperate need to be something, that there is no room for anything else. If you wish to be invincible, you must first be empty. Only the void cannot be cut. To be empty is not to be stupid, it is to be clear. It is to remove the interference between perception and action. When you speak, you are interpreting reality. You are putting a layer of language over the raw truth of the moment. Sometimes this is necessary. Often it is a hindrance. The warrior who acts without speaking moves at the speed of thought. The warrior who must articulate his move is already too late. How does one cultivate this lethal silence in a life that requires communication? It begins with the pause. Before you speak, allow a breath of silence. In that breath, ask yourself, is this true? Is this necessary? Does this improve upon the silence? You will find that 90% of what you intended to say fails this test. Let it go. Next, eliminate the need to explain your actions. Do not tell people what you are going to do. Do not seek their approval for your path. Walk the path. Let the results speak. If you fail in silence and learn. If you succeed in silence and continue. The need to broadcast your journey is a sign that you do not believe in it yourself. You are shouting to convince yourself, not the world. Furthermore, use silence to command interactions. When you are in a negotiation or a conflict or a moment of leadership, speak your piece clearly and concisely. Then stop. Do not fill the silence that follows. Look at the other person and wait. That silence is heavy. It forces the other person to process your words. It signals that you are finished and that you are not afraid of their reaction. It is a subtle display of dominance that triggers a primal recognition of status. The alpha does not chatter. The alpha watches. You must also embrace the silence of the environment. We surround ourselves with distractions, music, podcasts, television, because we are afraid to be alone with our own thoughts. We are afraid of what we might hear if the noise stops. The way of the unshaken mind requires you to face that fear. Turn off the devices. Sit in a room. Listen to the ringing in your ears. Listen to the settling of the house. Watch the thoughts that rise up like demons. Do not fight them and do not voice them. Let them float by like clouds. Eventually, the storm of the mind will settle, and you will find a clarity that feels like cold water. This is where true authority is born. Authority comes from the Latin word auctoritas, which implies origin or creation. To have authority, you must be the author of your own actions. You cannot be the author if you are merely reacting to the noise of others. Silence allows you to step back from the chain reaction of stimulus and response. It gives you the space, the to choose your action. When you act from that place of chosen silence, your actions have the weight of inevitability. Think of the mountain. The mountain does not scream at the wind. It does not argue with the rain. It stands. Its silence is its strength. Because it is silent, animals seek shelter on its slopes. Because it is silent, it endures ages while the noisy storms pass and fade. A man should aspire to be like the mountain, visible, undeniable, and silent until the moment of the avalanche. There is a dark side to this, of course. Silence can be used to punish, to isolate, to terrify. It is a weapon, and like any blade, it has no moral compass of its own. It serves the hand that wields it. But for the man seeking self-mastery, the primary target of this weapon is his own weakness. He uses silence to cut away his vanity. He uses silence to sever his attachment to validation. He uses silence to kill the part of himself that is desperate to be liked. In the lore of the samurai, there is a state known as furushin, the immovable mind. It is closely linked to the physical posture. You cannot have an immovable mind with a loose tongue. The physical act of sealing the lips is the first step towards sealing the spirit against intrusion. Try this for one day. Commit to speaking only what is absolutely essential. Observe the pressure that builds up inside you. Observe the desire to make a joke, to complain about the weather, to gossip about a colleague. Feel that energy burning in your chest. Do not release it. By the end of the day, you will feel a strange sensation. You might feel tired from the effort of restraint, but you will also feel solid. You will feel denser. You will realize how much vitality you usually leak into the atmosphere. You will realize that you have retained power that can now be directed towards a purpose. This is the alchemy of silence. It turns the lead of wasted breath into the gold of focused will. The world will try to break your silence. It will prod you. It will misunderstand you on purpose to get a rise out of you. This is the test. The weak man snaps. He breaks his perimeter to correct the record. The strong man smiles internally and remains within his fortress. He knows that the truth does not need a defense attorney. The truth is a lion. Let it loose, and it will defend itself. As you cultivate this, your presence will change. People will begin to look at you differently. They will trust you with their secrets because they know you can hold them. They will look to you in a crisis because you are not adding to the panic. They will respect your orders because they are rare. You will become a point of stability in a world of flux. The lethal strength of silence is not about being mute. It is about being deliberate. It is about understanding that your key is a finite resource and your dignity is a fortress that must be guarded. In the end, we all return to the silence. The grave is silent. The void is silent. The universe is vast and largely silent. To practice Chimmoku is to align yourself with the fundamental nature of reality. It is to stop fighting the current and to become the river. The wise man speaks only to act. His words are indistinguishable from his deeds. When he says he will strike, the blow has already landed. When he says he will build, the foundation is already laid. Be that man. Stop leaking your life force in a stream of idle chatter. Close the gates. Build the pressure. Watch the world with the eyes of the hawk. And when you move, let it be with the sudden, terrible inevitability of the avalanche. This is the way of the unshaken mind. The path is silent. The destination is self-mastery. Walk it without a word.